welcome to the first in session, a series for creatives partnership between Wethos and Visionary Rising Agency. I'm Leticia Johnson, and I'm the founder of Visionary Rising Agency. And really started the in session series as a way to engage additional people in the community and really provide some insights into the things that have worked with us as an agency, scaling over the last kind of 2.5 years, 3 years. The really cool part is that we were able to partner with Wethos to bring this session to you. And so it's designed as a 6-part series to really kind of dig in and give each part a space to really be expansive. And so tonight we're going to start with some introductions within the community. First thing I want to do is have everyone kind of go around, introduce themselves, do a quick your name, city you're coming in from, your discipline and focus area, and then give us all a random thing about yourself. So just as an icebreaker to kind of loosen us all up, I will call on Zach.
Hello, I'm Zach. I am in Boston, Massachusetts. I was enjoying the Boston Marathon yesterday. My area of focus is I've worked on the sales side for about 7 or 8 years now professionally. So my focus is traditional like service sales, as well as like SaaS and fintech and how to increase product adoption. A random thing about me is that I have broken 14 bones.
That is painful. That sounds painful. Next up, let's see, Shayna. Okay. What about Melinda? Is Melinda on?
I am on. So I am from Asheville, North Carolina, and my area of focus is software development. And a random thing about me would be that I was born in Portugal.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And so it seems like we have someone born in Portugal, a few people, Zach broke a couple of bones in his body, and that's really cool. And so just going to call on a few more people, really want to give the community an opportunity to speak to one another and then kind of let us interact and get to know one another. So the next one up on my list is going to be Yvonne G.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Yvonne. I'm based in Tampa, and I am a photographer, mostly music and festival photography. And I work in the live event space, live production, event production, sporting events, things like that. And the random fact about me was I started in the entertainment industry as an opera singer when I was 14. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Good to see
you. Nice to see you too. So that's going to be it for our introductions. I think just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to kind of interact and learn a little bit more about the audience that's joining us tonight. And so without further ado, we're going to jump into the in-session series and really provide an overview of what it's about and what you can expect to learn throughout this 6-session series. And so the series, as I mentioned in the beginning, was really designed to provide every studio owner with the tools and resources that they need, whether they're a solopreneur or leading a team of many, to utilize and scale the Wethos platform in the same ways that our agency has as well. And what you'll get throughout this is it's going to be 6-hour-long live sessions. At the end of it, you'll get a resource guide designed to help you scale in partnership with the Wethos platform. We'll have 3 assignments that you'll have throughout the course to prepare you for the next level in your business. And then, of course, access to the Wethos platform to continue your expansion after the series ends. And you'll be invited to a community of collaborators who are committed to your success as an agency owner, freelancer, or studio founder. And what you'll learn is really going to be around value-based selling. How do we build services using your library for profit and scale, setting up the business to maximize your profit, and then creating proposal templates and utilizing the Wethos library. How to build a collective of collaborators, and then how to launch your new studio model as you go through these sessions. You're also going to learn common agency terms and things not to do when you're pitching, so that you'll understand how to create winning statements of works, or as it's written here, SOWs. And so this is really designed for you no matter what phase you are in your journey as a studio owner, whether you're just starting out as a freelancer who's being invited to work on projects and you're thinking about scaling yourself, or you're further along in the process like I was, and you have a team of many and you're just looking for better ways and more effective ways to work through your agency. And as I mentioned before, I am your host, Leticia Johnson. I am a career creator and senior brand strategist. I've worked across many brands. I've spent part of my career at Apple as well as Microsoft and Nielsen Media before going out and launching my own agency and continue to work as a technologist. Visionary Rising was really built in 2016 because I saw a need within the space to really utilize creators to push culture forward. And I didn't really see a lot of people speaking to the creator experience on the brand side of things. And so I launched the agency as a way to bridge that gap and then work with other cool brands and amazing collaborators to really, really push a lot of our work forward. And so I launched it in 2016 and I've been doing that work. I don't know if I've been doing it well, but I've been doing that work since 2016. And then my co-host today is going to be Rachel. If you could give us a little bit about you, Rachel.
Yeah, sure. So Hale, thanks so much for coming. I'm Rachel Rennick. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wethos. I come from the advertising space, so I used to be an art director. I used to work on big brands like CoverGirl and Hershey's, and I actually met my co-founder Claire, who's here too, when we were working at Wethos together. We left in 2016 as well, actually, to start our own studio. And that business just grew really fast. We did, I think, 1.4 million in revenue in about 18 months. And that's when we found out how hard it was to scale. So we started to actually build out our own technology, which is now Wethos Virtual Studios. We released that last year and put it into your hands. So we're really excited about the session, and we love to hear how tools are helping people. And we really welcome any and all feedback. So thanks for coming. Thank you, Leticia.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rachel. And so we're going to jump kind of into really what the overview of this session is about. And it's the foundation for the entire series, right? I want to provide insight into the Wethos platform. A lot of you who maybe don't have just gain access to the platform, or you're coming here because you want to know how to scale your business. This is really designed to provide that introduction to the platform, as well as the agency and how we've used it. And then it's going to lay the foundation for the next set of classes that will be taken. Again, it's kind of broken out across 6 series so that we can give each area of focus and a really, really expansive opportunity for the studio owners and freelancers who are joining us to really workshop and network and learn the process and the blueprint that we've used to scale our agency over the last 18 months. And so jumping into the Wethos platform, I'm sure the Wethos team has never had someone else explain their platform for them. But the Wethos platform, it's right there. It says that it's built for creative entrepreneurs to build and scale their business with our virtual studios. Rachel, I think you know better than anyone the purpose of the Wethos platform. So would you like to discuss the Wethos platform and your ethos?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a joke at Wethos that most agencies today are 3 freelancers under a trench coat. We've seen this sort of be true over and over and over again. And we know, even though this activity is a little like underground, that it's certainly happening, and it's happening all over the place. So really, we're building this platform, and we exist because we know that 95% of freelancers in the US don't break 6 figures every year. And that is a horrible statistic, specifically because about half the workforce is supposed to be freelance by 2030. So, we really are aiming to give you the tools to make freelance a viable and lucrative career, and put people on the path to be able to not just, start a freelance business, but actually really be able to scale that up. So really the platform is an end-to-end operating system. It's called a virtual studio, and it spans from everything in pricing your projects and understanding, how much you should be charging, and leveraging scopes so that you can sell much faster. And you can also make sure that you're charging your worth, to, teaming up with other people, tools to team up, as well as a network of collaborators to reach out to people and expand your network against. And really around, budget management, and really when it comes down to it, the tools around your financials to empower you. Time and money today are very closely tied together, but time is the only thing we can't get back. So for us, we really think about how we can tie financial health to the management of the business itself, to give you the tools to manage your cash flow better, to get real-time profitability, and just make teaming up generally easier and more accessible to everybody. So that's sort of the core pillars of the platform. And I think today we're going to talk a little bit more about pricing and scoping, which is exciting.
Yes, thank you so much. And I want to kind of go into a little bit about the agency, a Visionary Rising agency. As I mentioned, we're a creative and production studio crafting authentic campaigns for brands who want to reach diverse audiences. And we've been around since 2016 as an agency. One of my co-founders is also on here, Ashley. And we really designed it as a way to assist creators with expanding and monetizing their worth in their brands. But we found ourselves kind of facing a little bit of a difficult situation when it came to scaling about 2.5 years ago. And so one of the things that we've really been thinking about since the start of the pandemic was really, how do we scale? How do we grow? And not only how do we scale in a model that's really service-based, and that's really focused on putting the creator, putting the person to B2C first. How do we then take that and scale that up when our target customer maybe doesn't have a lot of money to spare and a lot of things to spend? And then a lot of the brands that we were working with, because we were so creator and culture focused, also were kind of underselling us. So at the start of the pandemic, I was searching for a way to really expand the agency and push it to the next level. But I ran into a really big problem that I'm sure most creators and studio founders face, as Rachel said, 3 people in the trench coat, is that we have a high cost of doing business, but a very, very low profit margin. Even though we'd worked with a lot of really cool brands and we'd done a lot of really cool projects, when the pandemic started, we faced what a lot of other people were facing, right? Is that our existing clients were halting businesses left and right to wait out the pandemic. We're based in Austin. We had a lot of things based around kind of South by Southwest. When that was halted, everything stopped. And we call it Bloody Tuesday because I've never seen so many cancellation emails at one time. And then we had uncertainty around runway and capital because of the way that our projects were priced. And because of that, right, one leads to the other. We then had an inability to meet demands for projects because people were afraid of what was going on. Brands weren't paying forward any contracts. So that meant that we couldn't then pay our team because we didn't have a lot of runway and a lot of capital. And then because we couldn't pay our team, we didn't have a team, right? And so we're managing kind of all of these things across multiple projects, platforms, and payment systems. And when I say we, I really mean me managing 7 different platforms. That was amazing and it was great. And when I say that, I mean not at all. And so we found Wethos, right? In 2020, I was invited to take part of the Wethos Virtual Studio cohort, founding cohort. 100 studios. We're going to beta test the platform, and it's going to revolutionize the way we do business. I was skeptical because I was using 7 platforms, and every platform said, we're going to revolutionize the way you do business. But none of the platforms had everything that I needed, which is why we ended up having 7 different platforms to work out of. And I laugh about it now because I can really look back at that time and think, wow, that was really crazy. I was managing 7 different platforms. We were building proposals in this platform, then sending those over, having a designer create the platform. Then we were managing contractors through 3 different platforms. And then we were managing the reconciliation through another platform, right? And that's not even to mention taxes. So it was a fun time. And so when I was invited to the platform, right, the first thing that I did was I wanted to use the Wethos Services Library. It's something that it's a tool that they touted very loudly and very often. And I really love the fact that it was sourced from the community. And so that's what drew me to the platform and kind of made me want to take a deeper look. And so we were in the middle of negotiations with a client at that time. And I'm sure everyone knows the type of client I'm talking about. You give them a discount to meet their budget. You exceed their expectations. It's time to renegotiate. They want to undersell you. And so we were in the middle of that type, even though we helped them raise money during the pandemic, but that's another story. We took the initial scope that we had kind of sent over to them that we were renegotiating. And late one night, I went to the Wethos Services Library and I started pulling out the itemized list of services that were listed in our scope. And it's midnight and I see that there's a $15,000 difference between what I quoted them and what Wethos said I should be quoting. And of course, I was mad more at myself than anything. And so I had to kind of log off and I was upset and I was mad and I can't believe this. And so I sent the email the next day to my leadership team and I said, hey, we need to do an audit of all of the services that we've won over the last 2 to 3 years. And I want you to compare it to the line items that are listed in the services library within Wethos and give me the results of that. I didn't want to do it myself because I was personally tied to it, right? I saw the $15,000 difference and I was already upset. So I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to see the truth from an unbiased lens. And so what we realized pretty quickly is that we were leaving a lot of money on the table. We completed a 3-year audit and really looked at, right, how do we undervalue our services? And we did it by at least 50% over a 2-year period, 2 to 3 year period. And it cost us about $250,000 in potential revenue. We only looked at the contracts that we'd won. I didn't want to know about the contracts that we'd lost. I didn't want to know. So the only number that we have is that comparison to say, hey, over a 3-year period, we left about $250,000 on the table. And so we changed systems the next day to have Wethos be our primary scoping tool. And that was in June of 2020. And so I really wanted to paint the picture of where our agency was at when we were invited to the Wethos cohort. Because I'm sure that it's a lot of freelancers who are on here right now who are experiencing some of the same thing. You've been undervalued, you're undercutting your services because you want to be competitive, you're in a market that maybe doesn't bear the rates that you're offering. And for example, Yvonne coming from New York to Tampa, that transition, right? A New York photographer can charge $2,500 for a photo shoot. Maybe in Tampa, that amount is $1,000 because it's a smaller market. But what I loved about the Wethos platform is that it is a level set. It's a level playing field. It doesn't care what city you're in. It doesn't care what market you're in. And it doesn't really care what you've pitched before. It's telling you what your agency should charge based on the level of the project that you're doing, the services, and then it adds additional tiers based on the complexity. And so for our agency, we're an agency that has about at that time had about 3 years of experience. We had a high portfolio. We could increase our rates, and we went through that increasing process to say, hey, this is what we charged before. This is what we're going to charge now. And we're going to go after kind of a different demographic and a different target group based around this information that we've now received from this platform. And so over the last kind of 14 months, it's really for us been about leaning into the information that we're receiving from the community, from usage of the platform, from other collaborators that we're working with in the space, to then be able to go back and communicate these changes and these shifts to our clients and our customers. And so since June 2020, our agency has really scaled from a 6-figure agency, 3 people in a trench coat, to a true 7-figure studio by utilizing the combination of the things that you'll be able to learn in this series. And so what we're doing, right, is really kind of looking at the things that worked well for our agency, where we found success, and then transitioning that and turning it around and creating a blueprint that's going to provide you access to how you can utilize the platform in tandem with the transformation of your studio process. And so we've changed a lot of things, but mostly our pitch time has decreased from 2 weeks. As I mentioned before, it took us, we had to create the template. We had to go through the process. We sent it to a designer to create the pitch deck. We got the turnaround. We got the feedback. It was beautiful, but it was inefficient. And so we went from 2 weeks to 3 days. And the example that I have here is a screenshot of a message, RFP request for a proposal, that I received on August 31st at 2:47 p.m. for a project that was closing on the 3rd of September. And we had a conversation with them, and they were really, really interested in having us pitch. And they really, really wanted us to pitch. And so they were willing to extend the deadline for a week or 2, because they just didn't think that we were going to be able to hit the deadline. They knew that they were coming to us in the 4th hour and kind of standing a Hail Mary because they hadn't really received what they were looking for before, and we became highly recommended. And we had a conversation. We kind of went through our 30-minute session, our deep dives, had them send over all of our stuff. And between the 31st, when we received the RFP request, the 1st, when we had the session with them, the 2nd, we reviewed all of the content that they sent us. And then we went into the Wethos platform based on what they told us, based on the insights that we had, and we're able to deliver the proposal on the 3rd, ahead of the deadline, 20 minutes before the 3 days passed that they had sent us. And they were willing to give us an additional 2 weeks. And so I share that story because I really, really want to emphasize how streamlined the process is that Wethos provides for you. And we win more business, and we win more often. So these are just snapshots from a few contracts that we won, from our kind of highest one that we'd ever pitched beginning in April to the highest one that we'd ever pitched in September, and that was the one that we were able to create in 3 days. Right. And so being able to transition from, a studio that we were really had an inefficient process, really we're working across multiple different ways, to going to being able to pitch a $100K deal like it's nothing. is really a testament to our ability to utilize the Wethos platform. And then I also want to call out that the contract from the customer that we won on the 2nd was actually the referral for the contracts that we wrote on September 2nd. So not only is our team building a reputation with the clients that we're pursuing, we're also building a reputation with clients that are our clients already, because we're sticking to those SOWs that we create. We're delivering them, and then we're building and building and building and building so that they feel comfortable going back to their network and saying, hey, if you're looking for an agency, I don't want to share them, but this is the agency you need to talk to if you haven't gotten the things that you need yet. But it's not just about the money for me, right? The money is great, it's awesome, but it's not just about the money. For me, it's really the peace of mind and knowing that our proposals are top of the line. The feedback that I've received from sending out the proposals and the type of proposals that we send hey, this is exactly what I was looking for. I really liked that you broke everything down. I know that our rates are competitive, so I know that it's something that they're used to seeing, right? If we send out something for 10K, I know that we're competitive because of the services library, because of the scoping tool. And then I know that our collaborators are untouchable, right? I'm now armed with knowing that, hey, I can go into this database of amazing creators and collaborators that are based around their expertise, see if they're available, pitch them, bring them into the process, and go from there. And so Wethos has really helped to provide our team the guarantee by using their platform. And so now we're kind of in this space where we want to be able to share the knowledge that we've grown in utilizing the platform for the last year with all of the community and helping them to level set and scale and break that 6-figure ceiling. Okay, and now I'll open it up for Q&A.
Can I just say, I'm like screaming over here. I'm just so stoked to see it. I can't, like that. And like, oh my God, the way you grew that business is wild. That is a crazy change in contract sizes. Like, man, I feel like we got too much credit for sure. Like that takes like serious skill to sell that stuff in. So just wanted to gush for a second, but please, questions.
Thank you. I think it's really like a testament to the team, right? It's the system. I think my background is really in like strategy and design thinking. And so, from that perspective, if you don't have a great system, you can go out there and sell whatever you want to sell. But if you don't have a system, it's all going to fall apart at the end of the day. And so I think that, building out the processes that the Wethos platform enabled us to do, as you're kind of building that roadmap and building that runway, we can then make plans and action-driven insights based on what's coming next, right? And so knowing that roadmap and understanding what our capabilities are allows me to kind of be more confident in going out and pitching a 100K deal, because I know that we'll be able to fulfill it. Whereas in the past, I may have been like, holy, how are we gonna, okay, we won it, but how are we gonna fulfill this, right? And so I think that's really, really the difference.
Yeah. If folks are having any issues unmuting for any reason, because of Zoom has like weird permissions sometimes, you can throw your questions in the chat too, if that is easier. I do, Leticia, have a question for you while folks are maybe thinking on things. From your perspective, in terms of like speeding up the sales process, what do you think, like for people who are, trying to build trust quickly? Of course, like having a warm referral is always gonna speed things up. I'm curious just your take on how you have thought about speeding up that sales process, and maybe what steps you took to close the business faster, because that was always something that we were trying to optimize for, because the sales process can really drag on sometimes and people end up doing too much pre-work during it, honestly.
Yes, and that is something that we've tried to kind of level set for in the beginning. I have a kind of 2-week role. If we haven't met with them in the first 2 weeks, if we haven't been able to submit a proposal within a 4-week period, then our team moves on. We only want to be in business with people who want to be in business with us. And so our team does a really, really great job of the pre-qualifiers, identifying that they're within budget, identifying that they're within the framework of the type of customers and clients that we want to be working with. And then kind of doing that additional level set to say, hey, are you a decision maker? Like if it's on the line and you need to make a decision at Friday at 5 p.m., are you going to be making that decision, or do you need to send an email to get the okay to make that decision? And so I think it's kind of really, really important for solo agency founders or freelancers really in the beginning to develop a set of questions that's going to hyper qualify the leads that are coming to them or the leads that they're going out and seeking. I'll say kind of from our process of like going through the process of saying, hey, we want a partner. These are the partners that we're looking at. Let's get on a call. Let's talk through what that partnership is going to look like. And then let's move forward, right? And we kind of take that same approach when we're looking at our clients as well. Does it fit for where we want to go? Is it an industry that we're really, really excited about? And is it something that our team can fulfill?
Hey, Leticia, as you grew your studio, I'm curious as to how you thought about building your team out. I mean, is it the standpoint of, hey, I'm going to run a creative studio. I know I need X, Y, and Z people, or were you looking at the types of projects that clients were asking you for? When did you, start to decide like who you were going to hire? So if you could just kind of talk through that process of like building the team out, that would be great.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, right? I love Rachel's callback to the 3 people in a trench coat. Because the reality is, especially when you're a small studio owner, small studio founder, and small studio team, finding reliable contractors and collaborators is going to be really, really important. And in all honesty, our team really has struggled with being able to equitably staff long-term projects. And so the approach that we've taken is going out with the project pod. And so we, in the beginning, chose to build a team based on their expertise. And now we've shifted to building teams based on project need. And so going with a project pod really enables us to scale up quickly in the event that we need, but kind of sitting down and thinking through what are the types of services that we're offering, and then what are the types of project pods we need to be prepared to go out and build to convert these project opportunities to project activations. And so that has been my approach to the team building process of really, really thinking through how do I want these teams to operate? Do I want it to be really focused on kind of core competencies? Do I need a project manager and an account manager? Also thinking through like, what are the things that I don't like to do? Realistically, as the leader, as the founder of the agency, optimize for things that you can transition away, because that's going to keep you in the space. It's going to keep you in your zone of genius. And I'm a huge advocate for staying in your zone of genius. And so in building a team, think through, are they multifunctional? If I'm hiring a project manager, would they feel comfortable also being an account manager if the need arose? Or do I need 2 people for those positions? And kind of go through that to start to build out the model for your teams.
project pod. It's a good term.
Yes, yes. I love it. I
Good
love
one.
it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. We're like, we have this just debate all the time. We're like, what do you call it, these things? And that's probably one of the best ones I've heard.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really kind of in the kind of zone of like tribes and pods and like tribalism. So as we were thinking through, like, you know, from a culture perspective, you're going to run into kind of two different things as you're scaling. Either you're going to scale great and it's amazing, the culture is embedded, or you're going to scale, hit a roadblock, and then kind of have to start over. So we scaled, hit a roadblock, and then kind of had to start over and figure out new ways to do things. And so I kind of went back to the core of what does it mean to be a creative and what does it mean to build a tribe? And so for me, the thing that appealed to me about creativity and being a creator is the community, is that kind of that pod mentality. So that's where that came from.
Super cool. Question, because we get this kind of the answer to this question we get is sort of all over the map, but you know, when we were selling into our clients and we were putting together these like project-based teams, project pods, as you would call them too, we tried a few different things in terms of the level of transparency, I guess. Like some people will sell in a lot of work, you know, and kind of be like the magician, where it's like the client it doesn't know what's going on behind the curtain and like doesn't care, doesn't matter, like things are getting done and they're happy about it. Some people lean into like, hey, we'll, you know, curate an awesome team for you. Where do you sort of land on that? And when you're, you know, talking to your clients about this, like how much, I guess, how transparent are you and how do they react to maybe a model they're not as used to if you're talking to them about it?
I'm transparent, I think sometimes to a fault. So I'm always of the mind that they're gonna find out anyway, right? If you're building a team and kind of piecemealing it together as we are doing and have been doing, if something starts to fall through the cracks, then I'd rather the client know ahead of time that this is the process that we took to build the team versus something happening and us having to provide it after the fact, because then that ruins trust. And for me, I'm a huge advocate of the trust incentive, and that if you're honest, people are going to lead with honesty as well. And so my approach has always been to be honest, right? If we're pitching public relations, we don't have an in-house publicist. We don't have it. It's not a service that we have traditionally offered. But over the last 12 months, it's something that a lot of our clients have grown into and come and asked us for. And so I've been honest in saying like, hey, we don't have a publicist on staff, but we have a really great publicist that we partner with, and they've set their rates for us. And so this is what I can guarantee you through our partnership. If you go to the same person, I know that their rates are not going to be the same. And so then, you know, the client can make their decision from that. But so I'm always transparent up front. And when we are using multiple kind of building out project pods, the person that is doing the most interaction with the team is going to be a core team member. And so I think that really is kind of what sets the difference and sets the standard for how that interaction will go. So I do have a question for you, Rachel, as others are thinking through. When you both were building out the Wethos platform, you thought about building it because of a need. Can you kind of talk us through some of the issues that you all ran into as agency founders that kind of spurred this idea to build this platform?
Yeah. So it's funny, like the slide that you laid out with some of the challenges that you were facing, you know, we certainly felt a lot of the same. I think for us, a big part of the scoping side of things was also coming from a place of it's hard to scale your sales process in this kind of business because scoping work is very subjective, or has been historically very subjective. So even, between like what I thought it should be versus like what Claire maybe thought versus like what our freelance friend over there maybe thought were like three very completely different things. And so because of that, it was very hard to standardize our rates and standardize anything to build like a more predictable sales pipeline. So, we started to basically build out a giant spreadsheet. I mean, the library that is live today started as literally like a Google sheet that Claire and I built out hundreds and hundreds of services. And we were basically trying to figure out what the right like data structure taxonomy needed to be so that you could essentially flip between like a client facing proposal and then a budget breakdown, because they are two sort of sides of the same coin. So a lot of it was around like the pain in setting our rates properly. And then, the thing with a service-based business that's unique and hard is that you're selling something that hasn't happened yet. And so you don't actually really know if you're making or losing money until you've delivered that thing. And then suddenly it's kind of too late to do anything about it. So, it's like a really big challenge all the way through. And to your point earlier, the sales and the pricing problem, feeds the cash flow and the profitability problems. So for us, that was just a big part of, same kind of issues with like paying contractors through different platforms, getting invoices paid over here, and trying to just understand what our profitability was, which was really challenging when you had like a bunch of like disparate tools going on. So it was a lot of the same issues. And I think that database really did start with our own scopes and services. And now it's grown to over 75 templates, and we're almost at about, I think we just crossed 700 services there. As more and more people submit them. We can totally do a quick little demo if people want to see the platform.
And then while you're queuing that up, I'll ask Shayna's, answer Shayna's question. She asked, what's my onboarding process for adding new team members or collaborators? So we have kind of, and Rachel can show this in the system, we have kind of an opportunity or space where we can send over what the project breakdown and what their portion of the project breakdown will look like, and then have that conversation with them about whether or not they want to be a part of the process, part of the project. Once they are accepted in, then we go to, then we go through the kind of our onboarding process, which is kind of having them sign a non-disclosure agreement, which includes kind of a non-compete. If you're working with us on collaborative projects, we don't want you to turn around and then go and take this client. And then we kind of start to onboard them based on our systems and our processes. So we have kind of 3 days of training that they go through, to kind of understand the agency, our history, our processes, the systems that they have available to them. And then they're kind of jumping right into the project overview. So that's kind of our process right now, but it's an ongoing, growing thing, ever changing.
I'm happy to screen share if you want to hand off I don't think it'll, oh yeah, here we go. All right. Nobody is allowed to judge me for my messy desktop. Okay. That's the number one rule. Okay, so Virtual Studio is basically the platform that spans all the way from like scoping your projects to managing your money and getting invoices paid, including an embedded business bank account. So basically, when you sign up for Wethos, it'll take you through a few different steps in terms of setting up your studio and surfing around with scope templates. The things that we have been referencing the most, I would say, are here. So once you sign up for Wethos, which the platform is completely free, we don't have any monthly subscription fees. So you can sign up and create an account and get access to these pretty much immediately. So this is the library of services and scopes. So here, really, we have over 75 peer priced scope templates. So this is everything from marketing, communication, strategy. We find strategy is one of the most popular ones because it's so hard to scope. and everything is really laid out here. And then when you use the template, you can configure all of these things to your liking. So we don't, it's not like we force the pricing on you. It's really just, hey, based on what other people are charging, this is what we would recommend. And then you have the power of that information to make a decision for yourself based on your own situation and your client and all these other dynamics that we know are likely at play, to go with that recommendation or update it or change it. And as more and more people are using this, we push new updates to this library about every 2 weeks. So you can get a full breakdown here. And then when you use that template, you can create a project. The other piece to this is people. So Leticia mentioned this, but you can make yourself available to other studios if you're looking to get hired onto other projects. And you can search and save from this database of a bunch of people that are already using the platform as well, if you need to fill a role on your team, which is easily searchable, savable, and then you can reach out to people, look at their profiles, that pull out into a neat little thing here. The last core piece to the studio is the business bank account. So each studio comes with an embedded business bank account and debit card that you can set up on when you sign up, or you can set it up at any time within the platform. There's no minimum balance in the bank account. Really, this is so where your money sits can sort of be in the same place as where you run your business. So if you're out and you are on a shoot and you charge something to your debit card, you can assign those transactions directly to projects here, and then you can bill your client for that in your invoice. We find that a lot of people lose money in little nickels and dimes like this because they don't, they aren't properly tracking those out-of-pocket costs. And when you're at a big agency, they will bill the client for literally everything. So like, bill your clients as much as you can. It's literally just standard practice that people are used to, that when you go freelance, a lot of folks don't necessarily do. So this is fully available. And then you also have virtual and physical debit cards that work at ATMs and also just work across pretty much anything that any Visa debit card works across. Quickly, I'll pop into a project here. So this is your project pipeline. Every studio has one. I have a bunch of projects here that I've created. Our platform is structured a little bit differently than maybe other platforms or what you might be used to. As you know, Leticia calls it a project pod. We sort of treat every project as its own little mini initiative. It has a scope to it. It has a budget that you're going to manage. And then it also has an invoicing and a payment flow where you can pay other people. So this is where your scope lives. I created this earlier. You can edit your scopes at any time. This is, where you can, again, pull in additional services, search on other things. Let's see, if I just search design, it's going to bubble up a bunch of different services and scopes that I can use and add to my existing scope. And then this is going to give me basically a full breakdown of the budget. So you can really focus on like what's going into the scope from a work perspective and less worried about like how much time each thing is going to cost and calculating each of those line items and then trying to figure out your total cost. So it's pricing as you go along. And then you can edit or configure any of these things with the edit buttons. You can adjust the price recommendation or change any of the names. You can also, of course, add your own custom services and scopes. You can build scopes and everything in your library from scratch if you wish, but our whole goal is to help you save time and make more money. So we try to encourage people to start with templates, start with something instead of, that feeling you get when you open like a blank Google Doc and you're like, what do I do now? We want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So each of these phases, as we call them here, have services that are the building blocks. And each of these services also has a role associated with it that you can reassign. And that will give you a really easy budget breakdown by role. So now you're flipping between, okay, I'm going to sell this to my client based on, milestones or phases to, all right, how much is each teammate going to get under the trench coat, as we would say. And then you can, again, adjust these budgets, adjust these roles whenever you want, and then you can hit done. There's a bunch of other sort of things here. You can turn this into a contract, add terms. We have some recommendations around that and an invoice schedule. And then really the big features set that people use the most, I would say, is on the invoicing and the payment side. So here you can create an invoice directly from that scope of work. And basically this helps you carry over the data from what you priced it at to what you should be billing it at. And now you are consciously understanding when you are changing the price or the cost of something after you've already agreed to something. So you can look at the services that are in your scope and add them to your invoice here. And then this will track, how much has been invoiced so far, how much has been paid, and you can really keep track of all of your accounts receivables and all the cash coming in and out of your business all in one place, without needing to necessarily like go to your accountant and do an audit every month or every quarter. You're kind of doing it in real time. So this can send everything basically to your clients. And then from here, they can pay this invoice directly into your payments account. We charge 1%. That's the only fee for the platform for everything I just showed you. It's just on the client invoices. So we don't make money until you start making money. And then peer-to-peer payments are free and instant. So you can invite teammates here, you can assign services to them, and then you can send them a free and instant payment on Wethos that they can then, transfer out of their Wethos account or use their debit card, etc. We don't charge any fees for you to pay your teammates out because of our goal to make this easier and more accessible. Today, the tools to manage contractors cost a lot of money per month, per seat, and sometimes payment fees on top of it. So we wanted to get rid of that model. It doesn't make sense for people who are sort of, in an adaptable way, sort of scaling up and down. So this is going to basically track, what's coming in, what's going out, and then what's left, and give you a sense of that real-time profitability and cash flow, so that you can make these decisions and more informed decisions in real time, rather than being like, oh shit, I hope I get them on, hope I don't lose my margin on the next one. Like, this will keep track of that stuff as you're going along, which is really the reason for that bank account. That's generally the overview. I know I probably just threw a lot at people. But yeah, pop in here. It's totally free. Get set up in about 5 minutes, and you can start surfing these templates. And we'd love to hear, any feedback that you have. We've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, and we're really excited about it. But I think, like, from a systems perspective, we're definitely just getting started, and I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to push out in the next year or so, including a lot of mobile stuff coming, which is going to be great.
Yes, I love it. And I use the desktop app all the time. So I love it through Google.
Amazing.
See.
I do want to just say that we do user onboardings all the time. If anybody wants to sign up for any of those sessions, you can do that through our little chat bot, or shoot me a note if you have any additional questions, or you want more of a sort of a tour of the platform. We're happy to do it. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing the platform. The next session, as I mentioned, this is a 6-part series. So the next session, I see a lot of the stuff in the chat is really looking at breaking down that process, right? Looking at your onboarding process, creating the scope, building out the services template. And so we've kind of broken the series up into 3 separate parts. It's going to be the intro, foundation, which is today. And then the next 2 sessions are all about building out your revenue strategy, right? How do you price your services? How do you utilize the platform as really a partner in building out that service list and kind of understanding, as Rachel mentioned, one of the tools that I really, really love is you being able to go into the price setting area and set the difficulty of what you're doing, right? So if a client has asked you to do a social media management and strategy, which are 2 completely separate roles, but they like to lump in together, you can go in there and really set the skill set for that and kind of build it out and really understand your pricing. So when you go to have conversations with clients, you're building it, you're having those conversations informed with where you've already kind of set your services and your rates at before you even have the conversation. So I'm really, really excited about those next 2 sessions. So most of you have signed up for all of them. If you have not signed up for the next session, I highly recommend locking in that and joining us here in 2 weeks for that revenue and value setting strategy. And I promise I'm going to go really in depth in our process and what's kind of worked for us. And I'm also going to share what didn't work at all, which kind of led us to wanting to seek out Wethos. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Plus it's Q4 holiday season. So a lot of campaigns to be winning, a lot of money to be spent. It's a good time to talk about sales and how to get a wedge in there, because there's going to be a lot of holiday stuff coming up. So it's definitely good timing. Thank you, Leticia. This is incredible. And I really appreciate all the transparency. I think it really, really helps the business owners. So appreciate it.
Thank you. And that is our session for today. So this has been recorded. If you attended and signed up, you'll get a link, and then you also get a link to the deck as well. So thank you all and have a good night.
Have a good night, y'all.